Oh why do poor white people vote against themselves time and time again?
So we're shutting down our market farm. We've officially decided to close the doors to our farm store and market farm. We just notified all of our customers yesterday. That may come as a shock to you, and some of you may be like, well, why are you doing that? There's many reasons. Ultimately, it comes down to we don't feel like the time input for the return is worth it. There's only so much time in a day. I've got several other businesses that just demand my time. I'm a real estate agent, I'm a health insurance agent, and then obviously we run the Tanner Farmstead social media accounts, educating you on how to grow food. And I really want to scale that and scale these other businesses. And I really want to grow putting out more content. And to be honest, I've wrestled with this for the past couple of years. I want my content to be about homesteading and food preservation and all these other fun things that I want to do, but I haven't been able to do because I've got to put so much time into, the turn and churn market farming crops, like lettuce. And so it's just not been in line with my vision. If you got any questions or want to hear more about that decision, you can send me a direct message. I also have a YouTube video out that you can watch, me talking further about the profitability of small-scale farming.
So Texas farms don't have no workers? I like salad, y'all. I mean, what we gonna do? I'm not going out there. Y'all should have left them folks alone. Now look at us. We already overweight, out of shape, high blood pressure. Now we ain't got no vegetables. I am just waiting on MAGA to report to the fields. It's your turn.
Hello brothers and sisters, I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from now. Most of the white-only towns in the US are now facing a crisis, just like Orania, which is in South Africa. Now, most of these towns have excluded and played identity politics for the longest time, and they are now regretting voting for Donald Trump. They are now regretting for everything that is happening, including having shortage of labor, and no one really wants to go and work for them. So let's watch this video, then have a really quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
There's stories all over the internet about farmers going bankrupt across the country. And I want you to know, I want to feel sorry for you. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to care at all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because typically I have empathy, but I'm really, really tired of telling you farmers and you people that are in rural parts of the United States, I'm tired of telling you what your vote does to you. Yeah, I mean, you guys in the red states, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you're broke. You don't have any money. West Virginia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, you get my point. You're broke. And yet you keep voting for the Republican Party that wants nothing to do with you. And farmers, guess what? You're included. But you keep voting red, and now you want me to feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. I just can't.
It's Joe from Georgia. So this is news out of Texas. But folks, these are alarm bells ringing for the entire United States. And our government is not listening. Overnight, multiple farms in the state of Texas completely shut down. And the reason for this shutdown was because they have lost almost 100% of their workforce. Now, we know this is the result of the immigration raids and stricter enforcement, but the ripple effect is going to be felt all the way across this country. Now, you've got crops that are rotting in the fields. You have livestock that is not being attended to at all, and that takes a lot of personnel. And we're talking, so now we're getting every area of food to include meat. And the communities that surround these farms, those businesses and those people who depend on the income from these farms, it's creating disasters for small communities in Texas. Now, this is not stopping at Texas farms. This is going to end up all the way across America, especially in the breadbasket, the middle of the nation, because they have tons of immigrant help. But folks, the alarm bells are ringing. Your food on your plate is being affected. So you got to think about it. It won't be soon until either prices go ridiculously high or you just won't have any food to buy.
News out of Texas, and if this is happening in Texas, this is happening elsewhere. I'll put the link to the article in the description. Multiple farms are shutting down due to lack of workers because the entire workforce has basically fled and is in hiding and not showing up for work. Crops are being left to die in the Texas heat. Livestock is being untended to, unwatered, and unfed. There's just no one to do the work. So this is going to lead to potential food shortages because I'm sure this is happening across the country. Most farm workers are questionably documented. No one else is willing to do the work. This is going to lead to shortages, and inflation is going to go back up as we're going to have to import food from outside.
So I found this, and it says more U.S. farmers filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of 2025 than in all of 2024. The 259 filings marked the highest yearly total since 2021. This can't be true, is it? Unfortunately, it is, because this comes from a farming website where it says farm bankruptcies this year already exceed 2024 levels. More farms nationwide filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of the year this year than across the entirety of 2024. 259 filings in the first 3 months. And the article cites the person who is talking and a research study from Arkansas, and it is devastating. But I think there was somewhere, did I hear about this, that was going to possibly happen with Donald Trump back in office? Maybe that was us who were talking about it, because there was warnings of this, that bankruptcies for farmers and farms going out of business would hit an all-time high because of Donald Trump, his tariffs, and the way he does things. At what point are the MAGAs going to admit Donald Trump is doing more harm than good? You couple this with just destroying food from the USAID for people who need it instead of giving it out. He's not on a very good roll right now. Well, I would say he's not on a good roll ever, but that's me. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is good? What do you think the MAGAs are going to say about this? Are they going to say anything about this? Comment, like, share, tell everybody. Spread this word. What we need is to talk about these things that are happening and how they are hurting U.S.-born citizens, and continue to put this shine, that light, right on Donald Trump.
This is breaking news. Texas farmers are sounding the alarm on this tariff war. And in more breaking news, nobody cares. Yeah, I don't know if it's just me or maybe it's some of you too, but as far as farmers sounding the alarm, I don't care. I have to admit, I don't care at all, because The last time Donald Trump was president, 100,000 farmers across the country lost their farms. Yeah. So, overwhelmingly, farmers voted for this man again, knowing full well of his history the last time he was president. So, from me to you, farmers, I don't care. I don't care how bad things get for you. I don't care if you lose your farm. I don't care if you... I don't care. At least I don't care to hear about it. I really don't. Because this is exactly what you voted for. And you're going to get what you voted for. You're going to get 4 more years of Donald Trump not giving a damn about farmers whatsoever. So, enjoy.
I just went down the rabbit hole of watching a couple dozen videos of farmers that are on the brink of bankruptcy, thanks to Donald Trump pulling the rug out from underneath them by not honoring promises made by the Biden administration, because God knows he can't honor some other president's decision. So that's where we're at. Most of these farmers that I'm seeing, it's like the level of regret for their vote is pretty extraordinary. I mean, they're basically saying they're off the Trump train. All right, good. I'm glad you learned your lesson. I'm sorry it's too late. But then there's also this like small contingency of farmers, it seems, that are almost giving him the benefit of the doubt, like it was some kind of an oopsie and that he's going to fix it. I mean, I don't know. At this point, it's not just about farmers. I think everybody's got to take a really good look at this and realize what's happening. This is on purpose. This is your government trying to hurt you. This is your government saying, I'm going to put you in a situation where you will very likely have to start selling off your equipment and potentially your farm. And if you're doing that, you know, guess who's going to scoop them up? It's not a question. It's these corporations that are headed up by his largest political donors. It's not that hard to follow the breadcrumbs here. So why do you think he's doing it? He's doing it because it's a favor to his political donors who want to buy your farm for pennies on the dollar. That's why it's happening. So just know that your government is actively trying to put you into dire straits so that you'll give up everything you have so that they can buy it cheap. So if you've got a 5th generation organic soybean farm, they want it. I'm quite sure Monsanto will buy it and pump the ground full of Roundup and no problem. And it's not just farmers. That's just who we're talking about today. It's going to be everybody. He has no problem cutting veteran benefits. He has no problem cutting health benefits, Medicaid, Medicare. They're going to go after Social Security. If there was ever a more clear indication that this government doesn't value you, me, and citizens as people, find me a more clear example. And don't tell me about Hunter Biden's laptop or Hillary's emails. It's amazing how many times you can bring up these incredibly egregious things that this administration is doing, and the Trumpers still come back with like, well, at least he's not part of the Biden crime family. Like, okay. How was your farm under the Biden crime family? How's our economy? How are our institutions? Who does it help by eliminating the Department of Education? I still do not understand anyone who continues to back him. Granted, every day it's fewer and fewer people, but they're still there, more resolved than ever. And I think at some point people need to pay attention.
The same people who were cheering on ICE breaking up families and buying alligator Alcatraz merch are the same ones who are upset that they're finally being treated the way they've been treating others. My last video seemed to piss a lot of people off, and that wasn't my intention, but good. It is exposing how much hypocrisy lies within the right, especially MAGA. I'm not necessarily talking about classic Republicans or moderate Republicans. I'm talking about MAGA. Just in 2025, you have been cheering on someone who is a rapist and convicted felon. You have been cheering on ICE breaking families apart, going into homes, schools, and even courthouses. And you're cheering on alligator Alcatraz, which is literally a modern day concentration camp. Then you get upset over people just pointing out that something that contributed to the cataclysmic events in Texas with the flash floods stemming from hurricanes, people are just pointing out something that probably contributed to it. You could keep screenshotting my comment, you could make as many videos as you'd like, but what I said is the truth. I am not gloating. I know a lot of people aren't. Are there people who are? Yeah, there are extremes on every which side, and there are people who just cheer for nihilism and want the end of days to come faster. And these are known as accelerationists, and they wanted this guy to be in office again. My comment was, no, I'm certainly not gloating. Most people aren't gloating, but we're pointing out that a lot of adults who were able to vote in Texas voted in the same representation that has been failing them for years. That's why there are a lot of political creators mostly, and I am not one. I talk about this from time to time because I think it's important. There are a lot of content creators talking about the hypocrisy from all these people who are now suffering from the flash floods, making fun of other people for being liberal, woke, or anything like that. Now you want empathy. Now you want compassion because it's directly affecting you. This is one of the biggest problems in this country. No one cares until it's affecting you. A lot of you just wanted to own the libs and you just wanted to defeat the woke mind virus. Well, guess what? You played yourselves. You voted for your own destruction, and we told you so, we warned you, and you didn't care. How dare any of you try to preach about morals to anyone? What you have done and said for years is disgusting. Give me a break. Where was this outrage when the Democratic Congresswoman from Michigan was unalived, and it only stayed in the news cycle for a few days? I'm seeing now that a lot of people are waking up. I guess the Epstein list was your red line, but if only someone told you, if only someone warned you that this guy was a pathological liar. A lot of people are still not going to realize until it directly affects them, until they lose their healthcare, their job, their home, maybe their livelihood, and maybe then they'll wake up. It's really depressing, but things didn't have to be this way. We wanted to do much better. We wanted to be much better. And now America has to hit rock bottom before we recover.
Immigrant farm workers are not showing up on farms in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, Florida, and California. In Texas, in particular, in the Rio Grande Valley, they produce many crops needed around the country, such as grapefruit, corn, citrus, oranges, all the vegetables, tomatoes, carrots, cabbage, onions are all grown here. And guess what? The undocumented workers are not showing up there. They're not showing up here in Florida, and they're not showing up in California. Now, I can hear you all say, you don't care, you're glad they're getting them. They're breaking the law, number one. They are criminals. They're not criminals. They are violating a civil violation, which is a fine or a penalty. It is not criminal, unlike the felon in the White House. That's a criminal. You will be complaining when you see no fruit, vegetables, and other crops in our grocery stores to eat. You will care when you see the prices escalate even higher. Isn't that the reason y'all supposedly voted for Trump? Because he was going to bring the prices down, and y'all could only complain about everything under Biden. I don't hear y'all complaining about these out of control prices anymore that we continue to see everywhere thanks to Donald Trump. And all the prices that we've seen go up because of the trade deals or no trade deals and the tariffs. Well, guess what? These prices are going up. Thank you, Donald Trump. You and Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is such a genius. You know, he is the whole reason that we're having this whole problem, because he is so anti-immigrant. And by the way, his family came from Europe. They were persecuted as immigrants. And Elon, oops, Elon, I did say Elon. Elon, how do you like hanging out with Stephen's wife? What do you think? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. What do you all think? Only going to cost us more money, and to accomplish what? This is not a solution. It is the problem. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller are the problem. Hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and our burned out light bulbs. Let me know what you think. You like these higher prices and the food shortages you're going to see if this continues, and it's going to continue. They're not going to show up. And I'm going to talk about ICE in another video.
I know how you feel, but let me tell you how the fuck it is. When is MAGA going to admit that they fucked up? And they've been fucking up. They fucked up the student loans. They fucked up the Hispanics, rounding them up and getting them out of here. They fucked up all the fucking administration cabinet fucking appointees. The Department of Justice is fucking over you. They're fucking over the military. They're fucking over the truckers. Who the fuck haven't they fucked over? That's because they put this motherfucker in charge in this fucking lame ass administration. And they're gonna continue to fuck over you. They don't fucking care. They're fucking relics. And they'll always be relics because they want to live in the fucking past and they don't want to go forward. They don't give a fuck about America or anybody in America. But leave them motherfuckers by themselves, alone, to the fucking ashes of fucking history. Let's not even talk about the goddamn farmers. I could go on, but right now, I'm out of breath and I'm out of fucking time.
Farms in deep red Texas are shut down and Donald Trump is the reason. Now, as you know, Donald Trump has shifted ICE from focusing on criminal immigrants to going after easier targets such as job sites to pump his numbers up. But farms are hurting because of this, as many of their workers are either being deported or not showing up for fear of being caught up in these raids. And because of this, they're essentially shut down and no work can be done. Just take a listen to one farmer.
3 weeks it started to slow, but this last week or so has been huge. That's when it's like 0 people wanting to come out and
yeah, 0 people going to work the farms. And while yes, these farmers are in the find out phase, we're all going to be in it because they're talking that our food supply is going to be shut down or have major interruptions. And it's not just Texas, it's California and Washington. We are finding out that yes, immigrants do help the American economy. Immigrants are part of the American fabric. We just didn't realize it till it was too late.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you are watching me from now. There is a crisis that is forming in most of the countries. Let me just be very specific. In the US and some of the countries in Africa, like South Africa, where we have white-only towns. Now, these towns are dominated by white folks, and in that case you might find large tracts of land fenced and no one who is not of their color is allowed to go in. Now, we've been seeing a lot of these countries failing in a way, and they're now having a crisis, reaching a point where they're pointing fingers at each other for everything that is happening. Now, I want to quote very specific towns in the US. These states, like the state of Missouri, which is currently dominated by white farmers, is facing a crisis, and this is after polarizing national election like the Trumps win. You know, they're trying as much as they can to paint. They wanted to paint the country blue, but there is something else. I mean, the country red, and there is something else which is happening at the moment now. If you really want to check the specific things that are happening in these countries now, you must be very, very careful with how you trade with your research, because there are a lot of things that are happening at the moment, and most of these things are, people might not want to hear about them, but it is the truth that will always stand. Now, we have a majority of these small towns small white towns that are facing a crisis after polarizing Trump's victory. Now, we must actually understand demographics. Demographics is the fact that people are aging, and we are having different age gaps between different generations. And every generations did have some priorities, like the older generation, the Generation X, and the baby boomers did have a priority of food security and maximizing on production so that people might not lack whatever is very essential to the country. But we have now an aging population plus the youth flight now, which means the aging population that actually prioritized farming is now no longer having the same energy to do the work they used to do. Now, you imagine in a very specific... Now, you want to imagine that many small homogeneous towns have older populations because younger people live for education and jobs. Now, over time, that shrinks the labor pool. And for this case, the tax base and civic energy reduces, And a polarizing election can accelerate the flight of younger or more moderate residents who feel politically alienated or stigmatized. And for this case, people might want to be living a town that looks even older or poorer or less adaptable. And this is whatever is happening. That these are homogeneous towns that they only carry a given number of people, like maybe a given race. And for this case, the younger population might want to go out to look for jobs, better jobs, to seek education. And for this one reason, you're finding the white farmers in these countries are now facing a crisis, a labor crisis, because they have no one to come and work in their farms. They have no one who is very experienced after the ICE deportations happened. They have no one. After voting Donald Trump, they are now complaining that they can't get enough workers in their farms because most of the people who live in these towns are now older people, and they're now pointing fingers at each other because of voting a president who has deported their workers. But when the president was saying he was going to do that, they were all okay by that time. What has changed over time? And you ask yourself, what's changed during the night that they have realized that they did something which was not good? Because when you have a town which is dominated by a given population or a given race, then the race is older. Now, what do you expect about the labor patterns? They are going to shift, and for this one reason, you are going to have, or we are going to face a crisis. Now, there is economic fragility and structural change which is happening in most of these small white towns. And for this case, we must actually understand that these small towns often depend on a narrow set of industries, that are dominated by the same race. And these factories can include, industries might include farming, single factory, timber, small retail, and many others. And over decades, automation, consolidation of farms, and factory closures have removed stable jobs, just like it is happening right now. Most of the deportations happening have removed stable jobs because most of the people who live in these towns dependent on labor from the outside, because they are people of the same race, as I said, and they are older. They do not have the same energy to go into the farms and start maybe preparing this, preparing that, harvesting blueberries and all that, And for this one reason, they depended on the people who are now being deported, on the illegal immigrants who are now being targeted by one and only Donald Trump's administration. And the ICE has been very, very, very vocal in doing this. And they have been actually going left, right, and center, trying to deport everyone who they believe is illegal in the US. And you might now understand why there are a lot of tensions in these small white towns, because the farmers there are having a labor crisis. And Missouri just come to Africa, and we have so many other places like South Africa, where we have a town like Orania, where it's a white only town. And we've also seen the same crisis. The population is aging, and after the population ages, now there is a reduced labor mobility in that case. And for that one reason, you're going to get that the town might not get the services it got, and they might want to now import labors from nearby states. And for this one case, you find a lot of people now facing fragility, and they may not want to go and work there. And for this one, for many other reasons known to people, they might want to boycott these towns because they are known to be racist. Now we have the political and reputational effects these towns have been facing for a very long time. The way I say it, you might be facing a crisis, and the same crisis, you can't import workers because there is a notion, or there is a stereotype that have been built about your town being a white only town, that it is racist, and no one wants to work for someone who will discriminate them in one way or the other. And when a national figure like Donald Trump wins, and national attention focuses on identity politics, now media stories frequently spotlight towns that are homogeneously white or have exclusionary histories. That attention can attract national criticism, protest, and condemnation. And when you are condemned because of something like receiving criticism because of identity politics, the one that I was talking about, then you see everyone wants to isolate themselves with you. For example, you don't have enough workers in your farm, but you can't get enough workers from nearby states because they believe you are racist. They believe about so many other things because you are doing identity politics and many other stories. And for this reason, you might end up not having workers, even if you have the money to pay for the labor that you want to import. And this can lead to boycott or drops in tourism businesses if businesses are perceived as exclusionary, that they only deal with a certain race, that they do not accept people from another race. These things have been happening in Africa. They're happening in some parts of Africa, and they are now happening in the US. Can't you see a similarity? Can't you learn the patterns that is for whatever is happening at the moment? We really need to do some good politics, and we really need to understand. I've always said that do not go to the ballot to vote for someone to punish another person, For that same reason, or for that reason, you might have caused yourself a lot of pain, because if you're going to vote to punish someone else, you might end up voting the wrong candidate. You might end up voting the person that is not suitable for that position. And you all know whatever happens when that's the case. So we might want to consider doing some things that are better with time than trying as much as we can to homogeneous our towns and making them to look like a one-race town. This is not whatever we've been talking about humanity. And there are a lot of expectations and reality, People have been expecting a lot from Donald Trump, but here comes the reality. Donald Trump was elected on the basis of religion. Now, he came up with the religion topic about fighting homosexuality, about doing so many other things, about restoring the dignity of the U.S. politics and the U.S. as a Christian country. Many Christians went and voted for Donald Trump, but they are now regretting. I do not say Kamala Harris was good either, because we all know their histories. But I say it reaches a point where the US might want to shift from party politics, that you must vote a Republican or you must vote someone who is a Democrat. And when you vote a Democrat or a Republican, they are the same. They only change parties over time, but they're the same people being controlled by the same system. So the easiest way is to change the way the politics have been played around. Why do we have white towns? Why do we have people excluding themselves and treating themselves as special just because they come from a certain race, or because they're practicing identity politics, that I'm from this of this party because I'm white, I'm from this party, or I want to belong to this party because it's dominated by blacks and all that, maybe conservatives or liberals. So we do not want a situation where we elect people because we are running short of candidates, just because the other one that you do not want belongs to an opposition and the other one belongs to this. So you only have two choices. We might want to run from that part of politics. Thank you so much for having taken the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. If it's your first time on this channel, please consider subscribing, sharing, commenting, and liking this video. Thank you so much.